So again, on the open offices here, we're going to be doing screenshots and stuff to turn in later. So open office, we'll use that. We want to save as doc, not docx. So Word 97 and older stuff. That's what we'll be saving everything as, because that's what Yvonne does. So we got to get you guys used to doing that. In the books folder here on your desktop, we have handy dandy 4 books right here. Bottom one should be familiar with the one you should have or may not have had picked up because they ran out of them. But we got the training guide right there. So this is what we'll be doing the exercises and stuff out of this, which are the exact same thing that you're doing right now. So we've narrowed it down to this is the book that they're using. Actually, no, I just lied to you. That's wrong. The book that they're using is this William Panic book. This is the book they're using. So X now and everything I just said, this is the one that has all the labs you're doing. So I lied to you. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. So all this stuff will look familiar when you go to it. So I will close that. And there's other resources here. So this is the Pearson View book done with Microsoft. And then the top one's another Microsoft book. It's just pretty much the VCR user's guide to how stuff works. It's no labs or anything. It's just here's a reference book. So I will close that one out. And then our ISO that we will be using today is in this ISO folder right here on the desktop. So when you ask later, I'm going to ignore you. Right there, 2012 R2. And then if you want, you can do your Canvas stuff from inside of here if you choose. I made a quick little link right there. It goes to your login. So you should know what to do from that screen. So let's have some fun. Let me hide this little button right here that says I'm screen sharing. Can everybody see me okay here? I see some typing. I see some typing. All right. Cool. Let's get this show on the road. So you'll see on the bottom left-hand corner here, I've already pre-installed Hyper-V, right? So we'll notice something when I open this up. First and last name. So we want to make sure this is going to say your guys' name. This is not where we change this. This is actually the name of our computer. So we kind of have a checklist we go through. So let me close this really quick. And we're going to go to Server Manager. You guys should be familiar with Server Manager by now, going through some of your labs. Let me make this big screen for us. So we're going to go to configure this local server. And right here at the top says first and last name. You see how the formatted is there? Let's have you guys do that. So we go in there, we'll hit chat, we'll change it. Remember, this is computer description right here. This is not changing your computer name. It's just a description. I already got something in there, so it's cool. Then over here, when you hit change, this is where we're going to put our name. Remember, first, last name. That means your first and last name. So, for me, hopefully that's still my name and I haven't had it stolen too many times. I'm going to put Sean Spangler right there. You put yours. It's going to ask us to restart, but let's double check a couple things before we do that. When you hit close, this is where it'll give you your restart options. I'm going to say restart later because there's one more thing I want to change. And again, this won't change. We hit refresh right here. It's not going to change until we restart our computer. So I've already made changes, but we're just confirming. So remote management enabled, remote desktop enabled. Nick Tiemann, we don't have to worry about it. We have one network card and we're virtual, so it wouldn't do us any good. Coming over here to the right, we got the time. So I last did updates on the 22nd. It's never checked for updates because we don't want this to update as we're going. This one's not too bad for us to keep going because I've already done all the updates before I copied these machines. So we don't do error reporting. We make sure this not participate because we're trying to save some bandwidth here because every single one of you are going through my internet right now. I had this turned off so it doesn't annoy you. I also put the new Edge browser so there shouldn't be an issue. We're not doing that inside of our machines. We are activated, so that's a good thing, and our time zone is the right time zone. This is just to prevent us from having errors inside our machines. So if everything in there is looking good, I've given you 16 gigs of RAM, and you have 119.66 gigabytes or 120 gigabytes of RAM after, well, hard drive space after. Disconnect and reconnect, sir. I'm going to go over here. Close that. So everything looked right. So while he's doing that, we're going to right click on here and we're just going to do a nice restart. You'll notice when it restarts, it's going to say choose a reason. Servers need to have a reason. They're not supposed to be shut down. They're not supposed to be restarted. So everything you do is logged on a server. So I'm going to click here. I'm not worrying too much because I'm recording this so he can catch up whatever he misses later. I'm just going to say other planned, and I'm going to hit continue, and this should restart for me. And when it comes back online, it will now be named my first and last name. And you might notice these might just run faster than your computer is at home. So for our labs, we're only going to need 2 servers. So that's what we're going to set up in here. And there's one more thing I'll show you later when we're having something slow, how to make these actually run a little bit better. There's a thing called the virtual memory, which will actually help these machines run better too from the inside. So now we're back at this screen here. So all we did is after we renamed it, we went through, everything was fine, and we restarted it, sir. I'm going to Control-Alt-Delete in here. So you'll see this says student admin account. I just want to show you something really quick. So if I come over here, you don't have to do this. Oh, we're not on a domain, so it's not going to let me do it anyways. So it knows these are all local accounts. I'll show you this later. Type in your login. So the admin account's for me in case you guys mess up and forget your stuff. I can get in there and fix it. So now that we're back in here, the way I got Hyper-V in there is I went through Manager. I did Add Roles and Features. And this is waiting for this to finish loading. It's trying to do this refresh, so it's not going to let me in there till it's done doing its thing. And remember, if it's red, you're not supposed to be doing stuff in it. So don't worry about those services. They're delayed starts. So I'm going to come up here and just show you. I went up to Manage, went to Add Roles and Features. This first screen, worthless. We don't need it. Sometimes it doesn't even stop it, but it's a role base. And now see how it's got my name in here? That's what the name of our computer is now. So all I did is turn on this checkbox here. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you. I turned this on. This is how we got Hyper-V installed. This is all I've done. What I've shown you so far, that is all I've done onto these, besides try to customize the theme a little bit so you can tell the difference between your virtual machines. I am going to cancel out of this for now. And I'll come over here. If this is bothering you guys, that there is a red thing. Come on. I clicky. You getting grumpy? It's acting like it's not happy with me, guys. Is it just the server manager or is it everything? Oh, that stuff's reacting up there. Ha! Awesome. So that might be a sign that we might want to put some more virtual memory because it's acting weird. Open it back up. Remember, we're all on the same computer, using the same processors, using the same hard drives. Let's see. Oh, there, it opened it up. It was just taking forever. I think I opened up 1 million of these. All right, are we good? Can I click on stuff now? There we go. I'm just going to start all these services. You just right click and start. Then I'll hit OK. They'll do their thing in a little bit. It doesn't matter. We don't need them. Then you changed it in the wrong spot. You have to hit apply and then OK. But we'll go back to it. We're recording now, so I'm going to go in here really quick so people can get started, then we can go and fix that. So in Hyper-V, you can go in here. It's not going to hurt anything. We'll change the name later. We'll go in the Hyper-V, and it'll have those of you who did. Your name should be changed right here. So we're going to create our first Hyper-V virtual machine in here. So what we do is we come over here to where it says New. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to say Virtual Machine. And this is going to take us to our very first screen. And it looks similar. Everything on Windows when you're doing something new, it's got, this is what it does. So this is just a wizard that helps you create the virtual machine. There's some stuff that we can avoid. So I'm going to hit Next. So for your virtual machine, we're going to call it, let's just call it Contoso DC1. And I'm going to do a dash and then a capital DC1. So that's what I'm going to call this one. Actually, let me give you guys a shortcut, okay? We're going to create a base image first, and we'll create 2 machines off of that. Does that sound like fun? This way, it'll make it easier later when you go to Yvonne's class to cheat. I'll show you. So let's just call this first one base. I'll show you in a second. This is going to save us some time. So just call it base, and keep that. It's just a base image. We're going to hit Next. So if you're reading these, we're doing 2012 server, Windows Server 2012. That's what this class is on. Generation 2 specifically says running at least Windows Server 2012 or 64-bit versions of Windows. So just by that, we know we need to do Generation 2. So I'm going to hit Next. 512 is what the minimum that it needs, but we're just going to give this a gig of RAM. So what's a gig of RAM? How many megabytes is in a gig of RAM? You're short by a few. $1024. That's 1 gig of RAM right there. We're going to also use dynamic memory. This means it'll fluctuate. If it doesn't need that 1 gig of RAM, it'll go lower to the 512. We have to fix it though because there's a glitch. So I'll show you that glitch next. I'm going to hit Next. We want to have our Intel gigabit network connector. This will be what we consider our external switch is what we're creating here. This needs to activate its evaluation ISO. So we need to be able to activate it when it turns on. So I'm going to hit Next. So by default, it's going to name the virtual hard disk base. Whatever we named it, that's what it's going to name it. That's good because later we're going to use this. We're just going to give this 40 gigabytes. And it's not going to actually use all of that RAM. I mean, all that hard drive space. That's just the maximum that it can use. If we needed to later, we could adjust this. So we're just going to save this in its default location. So we're used to where defaults are. So I'm just going to hit Next. We're not changing anything here. So on your notes, write connect virtual hard disk page is not mounting the ISO. Put that big caps, highlight it, whatever you need. So you know later, this is not where we mount ISO files. This is where we're saving our hard disk. So install an operating system later. Nope, we're going to do one from an ISO. So we're going to install an operating system from a bootable image. Later, we're going to do that. We're going to install operating system later. So we're going to do this. We're going to browse. Now, what did I tell you your ISO was? I'm going to wait till someone writes it in chat or says it out loud. I'm going to go make some coffee. someone came late, and you're just going to be SLL for today. Now we have 10 people. Or we had 10 people. Desktop, correct. So it says ISO folder on the desktop, and I even made it look like a CD for you guys. Isn't that cute? We open that up. This is the disk image we're using on the right side. It says type, disk image. So we're going to click on that. I'm going to hit open. Now I can hit next. And now this is the confirmation screen. So this is kind of like my checklist. All right, I wanted generation 2. I've got 1 gig of RAM. I have a network card that's external. We can rename it so it actually says external switch, but for now that's what it default named it. The hard disk is being stored in users, public documents, Hyper-V, virtual hard disks, base.vhdx. This will be important later. When we delete stuff in here, it's not actually going to delete that hard disk. So if you try to create something with the same name, it's not going to let you create it. When you go to finish, it'll give you an error message because that hard disk with the same name is already in that folder. So you have to either delete that or use it for something else. So, and this is going to be installed from the ISO that's on our desktop. So I'm going to hit finish. And here's how we know if this is going to work or not. First, just do right click and connect. Don't start it yet because you're going to miss. You're probably still going to miss the push any button to install. So when we hit connect, now we're a virtual machine in a virtual machine. So later on, we're going to turn on this enhanced session. I'll show you what that does. So the start button's right here. Action button does everything these buttons do. They're all the same thing that's right here. They're just not with an icon. And so if you want to know what the shortcuts are, it's a good place to know. You hit these buttons, it'll activate these features here. So I'm going to turn mine on. And hopefully I can hit the button in time. Push any button to boot. Make sure you've clicked in it. So now I'm doing the installation process. Hopefully y'all following along. If not, it's okay because I'm recording this. So I'll post this in the class later. That way you don't have to worry about taking good or bad notes. All right. So this is the first screen that pops up. This is pretty much our, hey, is this what you want to install? So we have English for our language and time and currency is English. And then we use US keyboard. So we'll hit next here. I'm going to do an install now. It's actually working much faster than Yvonne's computer, just so you guys know that. But yeah, if you can just follow along, that'd be good too. All right, so this first screen here is going to be our install options. So as you can tell, you can't see everything that's saying there. We have 2 options. We have 2 types of install, I should say. We have the core, server core, and we have a server with a GUI. So we've already talked about doing with some core commands, going in there, taking it from core, bringing up the GUI back down, minimal. So for our purposes, we're always going to use the 4th option here, the data center evaluation, because it does unlimited Hyper-Vs, even though we're not going to do any inside of the Hyper-V, and server with GUI. So 4th option, that's the one we're always going to use. So this next one that's going to pop up here, besides this, I should make you guys have a test on this for homework, just because I don't want to read it. So I told you something about this screen before. Which one of these options should not be here? You can't do it. Why shouldn't it be here? Yes, upgrade. Because even if I wanted to click on it, you can't do it. You have to run it from inside Windows, right? So one of those legacy things they just won't get rid of. Just a waste of space. I think I double clicked. All right, yep, I double clicked on something. All right, back to where we just were. So it's always a custom install. So if you had multiple drives here, you'd pick the one you want. So for us, drive 0. 0 is 1, right? 2 is 1. So 2 equals 1, 1 equals 0. The very first one always starts off as drive 0, so I'm just going to hit next here. Cool, so mine is doing the install process. So the reason why I named this base is we're going to use this so we don't have to do installs anymore, okay? So we're going to use a special virtual hard disk where it will treat the virtual hard disk for this virtual machine as a checkpoint so that it'll be at the state where we left this one. So I'm going to show you a little trick where we're going to boot right in the audit mode without setting this up. We'll set up a couple things, and then we're going to note what actually it saved when we set this up on another computer. Hopefully this is recording good and it's recording my voice okay. We'll find out. And there is one thing I forgot to do on here, but I'll show you that when we create our official machines because it's not going to matter too much on this one. We're just going to use this as a reference. Because in Yvonne's class, you're going to create 5 servers. The way I'm about to show you is going to save a lot of space on the hard drive. So that 20 gigs that it uses to actually make the server, we're only going to take up that space one time. And then whatever changes after that is what our actual servers are going to be based on. And I promise I'll fast forward this part in the video. Yeah, all you guys' answers were correct. That it's a new install, there's nothing to upgrade. So all the labs that you guys are doing in UCertify, they're not like this, right? They're just instant. Like you click on it and it's there. Okay. Thanks for a sec. It loads the next web page that looks like what it should be. It's actually going pretty fast. Any of you following along? Are you where I am right now? Are you just watching and then you're going to do it in a little bit? I'm going to try to do like 2 hours of something like this. And then you guys have the other 2 hours to do stuff. And then you have the 4 hours of your homework time to go through UCertify. We're going to do both. We're going to do UCertify, but then we're going to also do the same stuff in legit if everything works as well. Okay. I'll show you how I want screenshots done after this for later. All right, so it's done installing. Now it's going to restart. So the screen we're coming up on is what we call the out-of-box experience. So we'll see when it pops up. I could have just clicked that button. But... So you notice like I hit full screen, but it's not going to let me do full screen yet. If I do the one up here, it's going to act weird. So it's going to be a small little square in the middle. Did anyone get through the lesson 9 stuff, or at least read through it? If not, you can just flip through it in the PDF that's on your desktop inside of this machine. And also let me know if there's anything else I should have added that could help you guys out. Yeah, I just want you to get a basic understanding of Hyper-V. So, because it's kind of weird they have that at the very end, but they expect you to be using it at the very beginning. So, all right. So this screen that's coming up in a second here, we're not setting anything up. Remember, I decided to go off the track and we're going to make this a base image to make our life easier in the future. So all this time we're spending right now to install, we won't have to do it again. Cool. So this is the very first of the out-of-box experience for setting up a server. So it's always going to be administrator. But I don't want to set this up. I want to make this so I can reference this hard drive and use it for other ones. So there's this little tricky key combination when you do Control Shift F3. And what the heck just happened? So my computer just restarted. This is called booting in the audit mode. So audit mode, it's going to automatically log in as administrator without a password. And we can go in there and set up stuff like the Timezone, pre-install software. And this way we're not burning what we call a generalize. So we can do this. We can log in and we can use something called a system prep tool to put us in this. But right now we don't have an SID. An SID is a system identifier. Once it has a system identifier, I can't put this on another computer. They'll see each other and they will kill each other. We don't want that to happen. So this thing right here, you see it says System Prep Tool 3.14. I wonder why it's pi. Huh. It might be well-rounded. Bad joke. But I'm just going to move this out of the way. Actually, no, I'm going to close it. I'm going to show you guys how to get to that. Don't hit OK on that because that'll just ruin everything you just did. You have to do it all over again. So right now, we're in here. We're logged in as administrator. Server manager is probably trying to pop up in the background right now. I clicked on it just to give it a little boost. So there's a few things we can pre-set up in here. And I also want you to see what does keep the changes and what does not keep the changes, okay? So we always go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's how our books are set up. So that's kind of how Microsoft wants you to set up a server. We're going to go into here. Oh, I just missed that. I just missed that. That was fun. I kind of wanted to click yes on that, but I'll show you how to fix that. Okay, so we're going to go down, configure this local server, or we can click right there. So we don't need to worry about changing the name because we're not set. This isn't set in stone. This will be different every time, that name up there. But let's see. We do want to make sure our remote desktop is turned on. So we'll click on remote desktop. This is our checklist, right? We can't check if it's activated because we're not in a part where this will activate. Oh, we shouldn't be. I'm going to do allow remote. I'm going to hit OK. Whenever you're making changes, kind of like Hillary's name didn't take, she might have hit OK instead of apply. I don't know. But usually we have to hit apply and then OK, or sometimes it will or will not take it. So if you hit apply, it kind of sets it in stone. Now this right here, it's not saving it. Remember, refresh up here to save our changes. So now it says enabled. Our Nick Tiemann, we're not really going to mess around with that. We don't have anything. Later on, when we're doing our individual machines, we're going to do just IPv4, but set a static IP address. I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to go in here and turn off IPv6 because I'm curious if it's going to keep it turned off when we put this on a new machine. So I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to flip that off because we don't use it anyways. So when I hit refresh, it should just say DHCP. There we go. Now to the right-hand side, we got some of our important stuff. Windows Update, we don't ever want to check for updates because this is just for learning purposes. And you saw how long it took for me to update on Friday. You don't want to go through that. So I'm going to go to change settings right there. Important updates. We're just going to click down to never. And then magically, we're up to date. Huh, goodbye. That actually updated when I did it. That's ironic. We don't need to worry about that. That's default off. Our experience is default off. We're leaving this on because we're not going to be doing anything in the web browser in here. So time zone, it always defaults to Pacific Standard Time because that's where Microsoft is in Silicon Valley. Well, actually it's in Washington, but might as well be. Change this, Central US, not Central America. So many times people will do that and can't figure out why it's acting goofy. So now my time is off by 1 minute, but it's on kind of down there. The product is not activated, and it's not going to activate because we're in audit mode right now. So those are a lot of the changes that we can make. So other things we can do in this mode is we can install software, and then it would be pre-made when we deploy it to the other machines. There's also what we do if we're making a custom image for deployment. So everything looks good to me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get this to go back into out-of-box experience and stay in a system prep mode. So where this lives, I'll show you the long way to get there. It's on the C drive in Windows, and then it's in the System 32. You can just type SYS, it'll be right there. And then sysprep, type SYS again, it'll go to here. So this is where the system prep tool lives. So C drive, Windows, System 32, sysprep. This sysprep application right here, this is what does everything. So if you can't remember where that lives, I'll kill that. You can hit the Windows R button and just type sysprep, and it'll go straight to that folder for you. So little sneakies to get around here and find stuff, okay? Make it a habit, even if you're logged in as administrator, to right-click and run as admin. Sometimes, even though you're as admin, it won't do it properly, and you'll get error messages for some reason, and it's because the people who designed the software didn't do it properly. So we want this an out-of-box experience, and we want to make sure it's generalized. Now, your book says reboot. Don't reboot. That blows it away. It just starts right back up and gets rid of the generalized right from the beginning. You want to go shut down. That way, it's in a dead state, doesn't turn on, and doesn't blow away this generalized. We don't want a system identifier on this. So from here, all we got to do is hit OK. And if nothing breaks, it's going to clean up anything. It's going to disable this admin account. And it's going to turn off for us. So we're at 33 minutes into this. So when we get near an hour, I'll give you guys another break. What does it have you name your computers and you certify? Is it Contoso? Is that the domain it makes? Yeah, in the labs, does it? Or what does it have you name the machines? I can look right now, but I'm just seeing what you guys remember. All right, we'll find it really quick in the labs. Oh, there it goes. Because in the Active Directory one, it should have something, but we'll see. All right, so now that this is shut down, let's do the, oh no, don't do that. So I'm gonna close this. It's shut down and it's in a good state. So I'm gonna show you something now. I click on that, right click, delete, delete. Oh no, I deleted it. It's not gone. So if you delete stuff like that, the hard drive is still there, okay? So if you try to create another machine, you're like, oh, I set this up wrong. You go and delete it and try to pull a fast one on me. and then you can't figure out why you can't name it the same thing later, it's because you didn't go and delete the virtual hard disk it made. So that virtual hard disk is still living in that location, remember? We go in here, we go to users, public documents, Hyper-V, virtual hard disk, it's right there still. That virtual hard disk still lives right there. So that I don't blow this away later, I'm going to go right click on this. I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to make this read only. Because I'm going to make everything else live off of this hard drive right here. Now it does delete all the system information and everything for the virtual disk, but it does not delete this. So again, if we named another computer named base, we wouldn't be able to make it at the end because it already has a hard drive named base sitting here. We'd have to delete this first. So see this file size here? It's about 8 gig. So I'm going to close this a little over. So we're going to create a new virtual machine. We're going to call this one, oh, let's just put your first and last name and DC1 for this one. So I'm going to go new virtual machine. So mine's going to be Sean. And the reason why we're doing our names and stuff on everything is so when you do screenshots, if someone tries to steal your screenshot, it's going to be harder to edit it. So I'm going to do DC1, not exclamation point, but 1. DC Comics, right? So that's going to be our domain controller 1. This will make a little bit more sense later. So I'm just going to hit next, generation 2, next. What number am I putting here? Oh, I see it coming. Awesome, yes, 1024. Unless otherwise specifies, we're going to do 1024. We're going to say use dynamic. I'm going to hit next. Again, I need external. This way we can activate it. I'll hit next again. Here's where we're going to do something different. I'm going to attach a virtual hard disk later, okay? I'm going to hit next. So I don't have to answer any more questions. We're good. Generation 2, 1 gig of RAM, Ethernet. Hard drive, none. I'm going to hit finish. We just created a virtual machine. If I try to run it, it's not going to do anything. There's no hard drive. So if you get this error message, know that this means there's no hard drive. It's trying to boot off the network. So make sure, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to turn it off. It won't let me shut down because it's not in an operating system. So one thing we want to do, we're going to right click. We're going to go to settings. This is our checklist for Hyper-V. So after we have all that stuff set up, we're going to verify. So right now, first thing I want to check is memory. There's a glitch when you do dynamic memory. Let's see if you can spot it. Which one of these numbers looks like it's impossible? Yes. What is that, like 10 terabyte? We ain't got that. So we want to set that to the same as our startup RAM for now. So we'll just do 1024. We want to match our startup RAM. If not, that might do a RAM runaway, and it'll try to take all that RAM. We don't have that much RAM. You only have 16 gigs of RAM, so that could cause all your other machines to crash on you. So later on, when we do Windows 10, there's SCCM, and SCCM will take half of whatever available RAM you will give it, no matter what. And we don't want that. So let me get out of this zoom. I kind of like how it zoomed inside of it, though. So that kind of made it easier. So I'm just going to come over here now because we don't have a hard drive, right? So since we're generation 2, we use SCSI controllers for hard drive. These are servers. So over here, I want to add a hard drive. So I'm going to go add. And then I want to do a new hard drive. We haven't created it yet. So I'm going to say new. So this is a create a hard drive wizard. You don't get these options on the other side, or else I would do it in the other wizard. But for some reason, you have to complete that wizard to get to this wizard. So I'm going to hit next, because this is another one of those where it just explains what they are. You can read yours. You don't need to read mine. All right. So we have, typically when we're making one, we have two options. We have fixed size and we have dynamic expanded, which means you set its maximum size, but it only takes up whatever you put into it. Then we have this fun option right here, differencing. Differencing lets me use an existing hard drive where that'll be the parent drive, and then any changes will be applied to the drive I make now. This way we don't have to install all over again. This is a cheat that I love doing. It just has to match the same format as your parent drive. So you guys can read that a little bit more. Let me just do the zoom in right there, and then we can screenshot that in the video. There we go. Hit next. So again, I might want to actually give this a real name. Usually you name them what your virtual machine is. So mine was Sean Spangler DC1 or something like that. That's what I remember. So that's what it's going to get. I might be wrong. So let me hit next. Now I got to pick the hard drive that I want to be the parent. So specify the virtual hard disk that you want to use as the parent. So mama right there. I'm going to hit open. Hit next. So now it tells me that I'm saving my hard drive here. And that's the base. That's the parent of the drive. So I'm going to hit finish. But this isn't everything. So because now, take a good look. Let me see if this will move over. There we go. See how this is blue? That means it hasn't been finalized yet. It has not done anything yet. So I'm going to come back over here. This is actually working out inside of here. I'm going to hit apply. Now if I go back up to that, you'll see it's grayed out now. It's good. It's already been done. So since we didn't have a hard drive, it wanted to boot off the network first for a Pixie boot. So I need to come over here and I need to change this. Now that we have a hard drive, I want to move that hard drive up. So the network is the secondary boot and the hard drive is the first boot. With this, we should be good to go. We've corrected the RAM, we've corrected that, and I need to make sure I hit apply because this is blue right now, so it hasn't been done yet. Hit apply. Now, for a feature later, we want to be able to do enhanced session. So I'll show you what the difference is after we get this one booted, and I'll do that on the DC2. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to connect to it first, and let me get out of this. Go away. Go away, you freaking magnifying glass. No one loves you. You're adopted. Go away. All right, I'm going to connect to it, and I'm going to fire her up. If all goes as planned, which never happens, this should start loading Windows already installed. Now it's acting like I installed everything, and it's going to take me right to the out-of-box experience. So while it's doing that, I could actually set up the other one right now. I'll minimize that. I'll go new, virtual machine. Do the same thing I just did. I'm just not going to do it as slow this time. Hopefully I spell my name right. This one's going to be DC2. Next. Gen 2. Next. So I own FN Numlock and FNNumberlock.com. And this is why. Because freaking number lock always turns off. You need some communication. Next, next, next. Attach a hard disk later. Next, finish. Come in here. We're going to go in the settings. We're going to go really quick. We're going to fix that. Never forget that. Yvonne will fail you if you forget that. Apply. SCSI controller. We're going to say add another hard drive, new, difference in. We're using the same one. I don't know why this doesn't pick the name of the one I'm in already. DC2 next, and then we pick our mama right there. Finish. And then I'm going to come up to boot. So see, I didn't hit apply yet, so I need to hit apply. Now I click outside of boot, go back to boot, and now the hard drive's there. Now I can move it up. I'm going to hit apply on that. Hit OK. Connect. Start. Meanwhile, this other one should be already done. How you like that? See, this one is a little bit different, though. Now it's asking us for the keyboard in the beginning, but it asks for us during install. Except the same terms, or the same terms that we answered when we did our original install. So always server 123. You don't have to do the exclamation point. And just for the video, that's what I'm putting in. Again, server 123 and finish. So how much time? I just saved a ton of time doing it that way, right? It took a little bit of time in the very beginning, but that saved me a ton of time trying to install over and over and over. So you want to hit yes on that. If you don't miss it, hit yes on that. And this is just installing. So I'm going to minimize that one because I'm sure that other one's ready to go already. There we go. Same thing. So once we do a clean install, what's the first thing we check? Anyone remember the checklist from the other day? Correct. Now you see how much this is only using 900 megabytes now because it doesn't need it all. So it says it has internet. So there's two spots I can check. We need to check if it's activated. So we take this view full screen. So it's not showing me anything on the desktop here. So I'm going to hit refresh. There we go. So I refreshed the desktop and now it shows me the 180 days. So this has been activated. Okay. That's our very first thing. So on your checklist, note that down. Check if it's activated after you've done your install. Now that I know that's activated, I'm taking this off the network, okay? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to shut it down properly. Never shut it down from up here. Never shut it down unless something's crashed. You don't come up here and say shut down. You don't come up here and say turn off. That's like pulling the power on your computer. Not good. So I'm going to come right here, right click, and I'm just going to do a shutdown really quick. Continue. So we don't want this on the real network because stuff you're doing could break the real network, cause problems, headaches. We don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we have a private switch. So we haven't gone over making switches yet. So I'm going to close this guy for now. So over here under Hyper-V settings, we also have a virtual switch manager. So coming over here, very first option is new virtual switch. So this one right here is external. So even though it doesn't say external on its name, right here, external is checked. So what we want to do is create a private switch network. So it's not connected to anybody. So we're going to hit create, and we're just going to call it private virtual switch. So right here, just name it private. And then I'm going to hit apply because it's blue and it hasn't been created yet. And this checkbox is here. Don't click this VLAN stuff. Never click that stuff. It doesn't mean virtual. It does, but not in the way you need it. It'll be on its own private thing and nothing will work. So we're going to hit apply and then OK. So what I got to do is come over here. Remember, my machine is turned off right now. Never change the network card if the machine is running. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to the network adapter. I'm going to take this drop-down box and I'm going to change it to private. Do not click this enable button here. It will make your stuff not work. So it's blue. So what I got to do is apply. And now there's something else that we're going to want. So I'm going to hit OK and I'm going to show you. So on this machine here, it should be already logged in. Let me click yes before it gets mad at me. So again, this one, I'm going to close. Well, I'll show you the other spot. The other spot where we can check, we can go to configure machine to see if it's activated. I'm going to scroll over here and it says activated. So I'm going to close this. But the desktop doesn't tell me anything. So you can always right click, refresh, and now it tells me that it's activated and my countdown has started. So what we want to do is we want to be able to cut and paste stuff into this, cut and paste stuff from this host into here maybe later. So we want to, our view, there's this option that's enhanced session, but I can't click it. It doesn't work. So we want to make sure that works. So I'm going to shut this down properly because we're done. We're activated. First thing, we're activated. We know we're good. Take it off the public network. So shut that down. I'm just going to close it right there. Closing that does not turn it off. It just breaks our connection to it. It's like a remote desktop. So over here, you can either right click on your server. Remember, this is your server. You can right click on this and we can go to Hyper-V settings, or we can come over here where it says Hyper-V settings. So there's a feature down here that says enhance session mode, use if available. It is checked. But up here, enhance session mode policy, allow enhanced session mode. That's not checked. So we're going to click on that. We're going to hit apply. This is also why we turned on remote desktop, because remote desktop uses this. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to turn my first machine back on. I'm just going to hit start, and I'm going to come to my second machine, and I'm going to make sure I turn that network card also over to the private switch. I'm going to come over here, drop it down the private switch, apply, and then OK. Then I can turn that one on also. So now I'm going to connect to this, and now we should get something that pops up that asks us to set the screen size. So I'm going to connect. See that? So it's asking for the screen size. This is the enhanced session mode. When I hit connect, it just resized my screen. Now I can actually hit this full screen button, and it takes up the whole screen. And again, we're going to log in. Do you guys want me to keep going through the checklist and then finish? So it's all on one video? Or I can pause it and then we can come back. Okay, I'll pause it. Let's take 15. Okay, since we're on a private network, that means we don't have internet, correct? So we should not be worried about this saying there's no internet down here on the corner, right? We should be good to go with those results. So what we want to do is we want to make sure our network and file sharing are turned on, or else everything else is going to get messed up here. So that thing that popped up that said join network, do you want to file, just file discovery and sharing? If you missed that, the way you get back to there is we right click right here. We go to open network and sharing center. And we're going to come over here to advanced sharing settings. Here we want to we'll just start from the top and we just want to turn everything on. For some reason, if you don't turn them all on, even if you're not using them, sometimes this doesn't work. Turn it on, turn it on. That one's on. I'm going to hit save. So don't freak out if you go back in there. It's going to toggle them off. So you go back and look, it says they're off. They're not actually off. It just toggles them. It's a glitch. Plenty of glitches. All right. So once we have those, let's do that one. No. Yeah. I shouldn't have named this what I named it, but it's okay. What IP addresses did your machines have you set them at? Did it pick any like 10.10.10.1 or 10.10.10.20 or something? Is this even working? I'm gonna go to the local server. Okay, no. We haven't named them, so we're good. 10.10.10. Okay, cool. Sounded about right. So our first machine, let's check our location at the top. This says DC1, so I want to make sure I'm on DC1 when I'm doing this. So I'm going to come up here. Let's see. So it did keep our remote desktop. It kept that on. The little fluffy thing decided to put IPv6 back on, though, didn't it? How rude was that? Go over here. We know we're activated. It says that's not configured, so it did not save those settings. So let's go down our list. We're going to just go left to right because that's easiest for me. I'm going to just rename this DC1, okay? Because it's going to be easier to ping it later. And that's not where I want to go. Right here. I'm ahead of myself. So this guy's going to be named DC1, maybe. So you get to be DC1. Hit OK. I'm going to close it and let him restart. So I want the other one to be DC2. So I'm going to knock these out at the same time really quick. Actually, no, let me not. It might confuse y'all. So I'll wait. Wait for that one to restart. It's quick enough, right? If I can remember my own password. Ooh, it does not like me. There we go. Cool. All right, and it should take us right back to that server manager screen. Did he teach you what the hourglass was called? An A+? It's a pacifier. It's just there for you to, oh, it's doing something. It might not. It just might be stuck there. All right, so we're going to give this one the 10.10.10 or 10.00.10. Looks like that's what it was using. If not, I'll go double check. That sounds good enough. So now we're named DC1. We can come down here, enabled. Let's get rid of this. We need to have a static IP. All right, that's usually a bad thing. If this says unidentified, just make sure we're just gonna disable and then enable it really quick. I'll show you later. Well, that's probably gonna be a glitch later. Since we're not on a real network, it's going to be unidentified right now. We're going to go into properties, uncheck 6. We're going to go into 4. So we want to use a static IP address. So it looks like, at least the consensus said, unless anyone says something different, 10.0.0.10. All right, it's going to automatically fill in the subnet mask, right? So what class is a 10 IP address in private? Class A. Yeah, cool. So when you do Yvonne's labs, it's going to give you a 10.10.10.10 for right here. But then here, it's actually going to give you a class C subnet mask. So that's how he knows if you cheated or not. If you went in here and did it and let it autofill in, because it's going to say it right there. We don't need a default gateway. We're a private network. We're not trying to get out of our network, so we don't need a gateway. No gatekeepers here. Our preferred DNS server, it's going to make us do 127.0.0.1. That's local loopback. Yvonne will say that you should put your IP address here. So 10.0.0.10. We're going to check this after what we do right now and see if that actually changes the 127 when we come back to it, okay? I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so we got our network. We've made sure our network and file sharing are turned on, right? I'm going to close this. We're done here. Let's make sure no Windows updates try to look, because A, it can't. We're not on the internet, so it can't really do anything. But on our checklist, we want to make sure we come through here and we just never check for updates. Okay, because now we're up to date and it doesn't get angry with us. We'll refresh this. Everything else looks good. So we got our 10.0.0.10. I think it's supposed to be 10.10.10, but it doesn't matter. Just know what we're going to use. Never, 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 never. IE's on. Time zone's correct. All right, cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install a domain controller on this, okay? So we're going to come up to Manage, Add Roles and Features. Again, even though we click that, it doesn't still shows us this page. I have issues, Windows issues. We'll hit Next. We're going to do a role. That's us, DC1 10.00.10. That feels wrong. All right, cool. So the very first one, our role is going to be in Active Directory Domain Services. So it's the second option right here, and it's tell us that we need to install all this other stuff also for this to work. I'm going to say Add Features, and it's going to check stuff. So it didn't check stuff on this page. It checked stuff on our Features page. So when we go to Features, it's going to automatically install DNS and everything. So see, all these boxes are checked now. So I'm going to hit Next. Next again. I'm going to tell it to restart if it's needed. And I'm going to say yes. From here, if you wanted, we could export the configuration. I'm going to save that on my desktop really quick. I'm going to save it there. And I'll show you that in a second, because we could use that for our installing with scripts later. And I'm just going to say install. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to open this up in Notepad. So see, this is what it's using to actually set up everything. So all the settings we picked, everything it decided to install, it's all right here in this script. This is an XML. So it's kind of like HTTP the way it's organized in here. Some reason they like to use XML for everything. Or CSV, comma separated value documents they like to use a lot too. So this probably means a whole lot of nothing to us, but this is one thing that we could save if we don't know what we set up. So see, server components, RSAT, AD tools. So it's installing the tools into the tools section. None of that. They look alike. So up here, it's installing the RSAT tools right here. Tell me I did that on the right computer. I did. Okay. No, I didn't. There we go. Why is it? Oh, you guys see what I'm doing? Make sure you make that thing full screen. All right, it's done installing. You can hit close. So now it's done. You see up here, there's this flag. It's got an exclamation point. That means you're not done. You got some setting up to do. So has anyone gotten to setting up the domain yet? In the actual exercises? I think it's 3. Labs 3. All right. But I'm just going to use what I know is in all the other ones because I've got all these different Microsoft books stuck in my head right now. So since we're going to do a brand new domain controller, we need to have the very first option. No, never mind. I need to wake up. Last option, forest, because we don't have a forest. So we need to have a new forest because we don't have a forest. So everything has to do with plants, root, forests. So we're going to call this one Contoso since all the books seem to use Contoso. And we have to have a designator. So we need .com because that's what the books tend to use. Now, if you're not on the internet, you don't own the .com, you want to use like a .lan or a .local so that it doesn't try to get hit from the internet. We're going to use a .com for our domain. I'm going to hit next. So here it's going to start doing a couple loading, and now I can type a password. So this is for our recovery management. So we need to be able to recover. So directory service restore mode, but really it's for to recover. So just use the server 123 we use for everything. And I will hit next. So here it's telling us this isn't a bad thing. It just says you need to have a DNS server created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. So it needs to be able to point to itself. It needs to say, hey, the domain controller lives here. So remember, the DNS is an address book. So if people don't know where the domain controller lives, they're not going to be able to talk to it. So this is just going to create its own. So sometimes it glitches here. Sometimes it'll glitch out and say there's no DNS. So we have to go in and manually do it. I don't know why it does it, but it's random who it'll happen to. Just know it can do it. So I'm going to hit next. Here's the net BIOS name. So this is if we don't want to type like dc.contoso.com. We could just type Contoso. So we either have contoso.com or Contoso that we can hit the domain with. All our computers have the same thing. So our fully qualified domain name, if we join this domain, would be dc.contoso.com. It's just NetBIOS name would just be DC1. So I'm going to hit next. So here's where it default stores files. So your database and log files are saved in the Windows NTDS. These are kind of legacy folders because remember, Windows Server used to be called Windows NT. And we had like our Windows 98, which was not the same as Windows NT. There are two completely different operating systems that weren't really compatible with each other. When Windows 2000 came out, That's when we integrated everything into the NT. So you actually see these NT folders sitting there on your Windows 10 now too. But it's a legacy for the old Windows NT, like 4.1 and all. Those really, really old ones. So what you need to know is that the system volume folder is not in the same. The system folder volume has its own folder, system vol. So it's easy to remember on a test that that's the only one that's stored in a different location. Everything else is in NTDS when you see that on an exam. So this is just confirming that our domain name is contoso.com. This will also the name of the new forest. So this is the top of the forest. So we'll go into that a little bit more later. It's all in your book. So our NetBIOS name is Contoso. It's just confirming the forest functional level is that of 2012 R2. So we will go over that on the next one when we join it. Yes, global catalog. Yes, DNS server. Create a DNS delegation. No. And then database will be the NTDS. That's where it's going to store everything because all this is a database of controller security. So again, we can do a view script here. And this is what it's typing in PowerShell to do everything that you just saw right there. So if you wanted, you could save this and you can run this as a script later if you wanted. I'm going to hit next. And now it's going to actually set it up. So first we installed it. Now we're going to actually install and deploy it. And we got the green light. Here's where it might say there's no DNS. It'll get mad at you. So remember, exclamation points are just, hey, did you know? So it's going to do this. It's going to do that. Prereqs check. Good to go. Ready to go. Hit install. And it'll be happy, happy, joy, joy. So when this is done, it'll restart. So what we need to know is when we're setting up domains is you need 2 domain controllers, not just one. Remember, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So we need 2 domain controllers. That's the recommended for any Active Directory domain services is that we need to have 2 machines. One can be in a virtual machine, but at least one needs to be a physical machine. In our case, they're both going to be virtual for learning purposes. So now it's building the database. The database is just the same as Excel or Active Access. It's just a way where it stores information. It'll keep all the user accounts, all their security rights, privileges, who can use what resource. All it is delegation of resources. So she's just about done, and I can't move on to the other one until this one is done. Cool. Now it's going to kick me out. How rude, right? So when it comes back, it's going to be a little bit different. So now we're going to have a local login and a domain login. We need to make sure we're using the domain login. When you type administrator, it's going to try to flip back to the local administrator and not to the domain administrator. So it's a couple things we have to do to make sure that happens. Once it comes back up, and let me make sure I make this full screen because I don't like seeing the other one because I'll start clicking on it. My tummy's growling. Who had pizza for lunch? Who had old, cold pizza for lunch? Anybody? Stop kicking out of full screen, please. I don't like it. Here we go. Maybe. It's taking a little something like forever. There we go. It's doing that because I was just about ready to order some food. All right. So you see on the left side here, it says Contoso /administrator. That'll let us log in. That's the one we want. So here we're going to type in the server 123. And that's going to get us into our domain. All these rights are being authorized through the domain. Now, right now, to know if our network's working, our network adapter, because sometimes it glitches when you restart these servers. So on the bottom right-hand corner, if it doesn't say contoso.com now, there's something wrong. It says unidentified network. That's how I know there's something wrong. So add this to a checklist when you restart a computer. This is probably why it's not working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the quick route and I'm just going to go through local and I'm going to click on it. And that'll take me to my adapter. So this should say contoso.com right now because we are on contoso.com. That's our domain. We're no longer a work group. So usually if you just click on this, disable this network adapter, wait about 10 seconds, close enough, and we enable it, it should say contoso.com. If not, we have a bigger problem. See? Contoso.com. So just know that's a Hyper-V glitch. It's a glitch in the network card. So if your stuff's not communicating, it's not working right, make sure that is working. Disable, re-enable that network adapter, okay? That's most likely going to be your problems in the future if you turn this machine off or you restart it. Always check that first. Make sure that's working. I'm going to close that. So right now, this is in the state that I want it. I want to add a second domain controller because 1 is 0, 2 is 1. So we need the second one. So I'm going to minimize this one for now, and we're going to work on DC2. DC2 is, hey, you, come here, come here. There we go. Let me make sure it's full screen. So if you see red, you're on the wrong thing. You're not doing stuff in the right spot. And that's what I was doing, almost. I didn't do it, but I thought I was. So I'm going to come here, view, make it full screen. All I see is what I need. So this one, we're going to double check stuff. So this probably won't say Contoso because it's not joined to it, right? But just because I know this is the first time we've turned it on, I'm going to go in there anyways. I'm going to open up network sharing. I'm taking the other way around to get to it. And go into adapter. That's the other way we can get to that. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to disable this network device. Give it a few seconds. 10 seconds is usually the rule of thumb. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit enable because it probably doesn't have a problem. This won't say Contoso right now because we're not domain joined. So it's not authorized to do anything on Contoso. So let's see. It'd probably say unknown again. So what's going to happen, it's going to get a 169 IP address because there's no DHCP server. Okay. So if I come here and look at it, go to status, we should have an APIPA sitting in here. Yeah, see? We have an APIPA. It's a APIPA. Keep it away from Windows. All right. Gonna close that, close that. All right, cool. So the first thing we did is we changed the name, right? We're coming up here. This one's gonna be called what? Let's see. What are we gonna call it? What are we gonna call it? DC Comics. All right, everyone's asleep. Put a DC2 in there. Hit OK. Now I'm not gonna restart it right now. I'm just gonna hit OK. Hit close. I don't want to restart right now because I want to change my IP address. So we're gonna go into there. We're gonna go in the properties. Turn off 6. Go into 4. So the other one was 10.0.0.10. So we're going to do 10. We're going to say turn on the number lock. 10.0.0.20 for this one. Subnet mask, we'll just leave it at that. So our preferred DNS server is going to be who? It's a trick question here. .10. So we are going to do .10. Our secondary is going to be .20. But our domain controller is .10. So in order for us to actually talk with that and join it, we need to be direct communication of it. So now our alternative is going to be ourself. So we can do 10.0.0.20 or 127.0.0.1. We'll check on the other domain controller when we flip over to it and see if it flipped itself to 127. Because I'm pretty sure it did. I'm going to hit OK here. If we don't do this, the next step won't work. I'm going to close that. So we just want to make sure that's enabled. Nick Teeman off. We'll hit refresh on this so that this gives us what we want. .20, OK. Make sure this is turned off. Windows Update, we don't want. We're haters. Windows are for rocks. All right, there we go. And everything else looks good. Now we want to restart it because we need our name to change. Yeah, I don't think you want to type that, right? I want to ping win-l91p8hc right? When you're dyslexic like me, that's torture. So this buddy, it'll restart really quick. And are we back? Are we back? So we had 3 options when we installed the domain controller last time and we did a new forest, right? But we already have a forest. So which option should we be using this time when we join? Are we going to add to an existing or are we going to create a new domain? Yes, add to existing. But first we got to install the features, right? Or the role, not the feature. The role that includes features. So remember, if it's baby blue, it's good. If this is red, like, let me minimize that. If it's red, you're on the wrong machine, okay? If it's red, don't go to control panel and start installing stuff. All right, I'm gonna go to manage. We'll do this as fast as possible here. And I'm hoping it's not gonna work so I can show you why we need to do the other part. So we're doing it on ourselves. Next. Active Directory Domain Services, the second option, add features. Go a little bit faster this time because restart if needed. I don't think it needs to restart for this though. So So we'll see. So as I'm waiting for this, there's one thing I could check. And I'm going to open this up. I'm going to treat this like it's command prompt. Same thing. Well, not same thing, but the command prompts work. I'm going to ping DC1. It's working. So it looks like it did. The network card did work because I can actually ping. So I can also do the IP address, which was 10.0.0.10. Freaking number lock. And that worked too. So I have communication. The other one to do is you can open up File Explorer. I should be able to whack DC1. And it shows me shared files. So I know communication's working right too. Meanwhile, that's almost done. So now I've confirmed I have communication. For that whack, you can also do the Windows button and just do whack DC1. It'll do the same thing. It'll go to it. All right, looks like that's done. I'm gonna hit close. We've got more to do. We have a flag. We're gonna click up here and we're gonna say promote this server to a domain controller. There we go. So our very first option is add a domain controller to an existing domain. So that's where this is. Now, if the second option, add a domain to an existing forest, that means we'd be creating a new domain to this forest. So it could be a child domain. It could be on the same level. But for now, we're just adding a new one because we need 2 domain controllers for one. So here we can just type contoso.com. And if everything is working properly, when I hit select, it should talk to it. Now it wants credentials. So our credentials are administrator, right? You're going to hate. It's one of those words. If you stop typing it halfway through, you are not going to type it right. Now I have something wrong right here. The first thing is domain says DC2. So I need to tell this that this is not for DC2, that this is for Contoso. So I can do 2 things. Remember when we logged on, it said Contoso /. See how that flipped it? Domain Contoso. Now it's trying to do those credentials for the domain and not for my local computer. You can also do it like an email address. So at contoso.com. And if I hit OK, we should be good to go. So my option, I've got contoso.com right there. I can click on it, say OK. It should put my credentials automatically right here. And then I can hit next. So now we also need to have our DSRM, or our directory service restoration mode, or restore mode, or recovery. So we'll just do our server 123. Server 123. I'm going to hit next. Again, it just says it needs a DNS on here for this to work. It's going to do it itself. We'll hit next. Now here, if we had multiple domain controllers, like in a corporation, we want to pick the one that's closest to us so that it doesn't have to travel a long distance to sync up. We can also save it on a media and have it sync up with on the network. So for us, we only have one option, dc1.contoso.com. So that's the fully qualified domain name of our main server. It doesn't. If we did any, it wouldn't matter because we only have one. So but it's going to replicate from that server. So from here, same thing we talked about before. Now it's going to review and make sure everything's good to go. The script is right here. It's going to be a little bit different than last time. So when you do this, you can save this and look at it and figure out what it's doing. That just helps you understand PowerShell commands a little bit more. I'm going to hit next. And hopefully when this is done, it restarts. We can make sure they're both still talking to each other. And then that will be the end of this. So let's see if everything works as planned. And I'll try to fast forward between all these load times and stuff in here. So right now we're at an hour and a half. And then those of you who came late and don't have a machine, you are going to stay late and we are going to give you a machine. As soon as it uploads. All right, now it's done. It's going to restart. I could probably give it a boost on that restart. I was going to come over here. I don't want to wait for it. It's okay. You'll do this probably 1,000 times. You're going to have to go through that same process every single chapter in Yvonne's class. So. When you do chapter 3, you'll understand it a bit more. I believe chapter 3 was Active Directory Domain Services. So right now, it's setting stuff up in the background. And it's actually setting up communication between the other server. But we need to make sure that we don't have a glitch in the network card when this restarts. Please wait. They need like hold music when that's loading. Pac-Man, something. All right, I'll log into this just like before. I type my password right this time. And just so I don't see any red, I'm going to go full screen. All right. So my bottom right-hand corner should say contoso.com. If not, hey, look, we got contoso.com. We are good. And just to double check, we're going to come right here. We're going to whack DC1. Cool. That was quick and fast. All right. Let's whack DC2. That looks a little bit different. So I'm going to try that from the other side, from DC1, and make sure that it's working on the other side. Just because one's working doesn't mean the other one is. So that's 2, that's 1. do the same thing. Looks like it's working just fine. So, since we know everything's working, this is a good spot for us to wrap this up. So, let me see. As I put these up here out of order. Snap. There we go. So there we go. I am going to stop recording because that is it for today on that happy stuff.